Starts right now.
Help support our teachers.
We're just hours away from a statewide teacher walkout. The Red for Ed backers showing support for teachers demanding higher salaries and better classroom funding ahead of today's protest. Plus, free daycare option for you and your kids today as Southern Arizona schools close their campuses during this walkout. We have a lot to cover this morning. Now, good morning to you, Tucson. It is 4:30. I'm Whitney Clark. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's head right over to April Madison. April, good morning.
Thursday, Whitney. Almost there. 65 outside. We have mostly clear skies, but we are expecting those clouds to kind of increase throughout the day, becoming partly cloudy, but we are expecting also another mild start to the day. So those 60s will change over to the low 70s pretty quickly as we move closer to that 8 o'clock hour. Then we're looking at near 90, if not right at it by noon, 94 for the high. How's it looking, Big Al?
April, not bad. We do have some big work on Valencia this morning. It's a one-day project on Valencia from Mission over to Camino de la Tierra. Paving repair for the westbound side of Valencia, and right here in the intersection near the Safeway at Valencia and Cardinal, they're going to do some concrete repair. 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. midday work one day. That's the latest from our First Warning Traffic Center.
Thank you so much, Big Al. Well, this morning, a total of 14 school districts will be closing for those Arizona educator walkouts in our area. That includes Tucson Unified, Marana, Sahuarita, Catalina Foothills, Sunnyside, Benson, Amphi Public Schools, Douglas, Sierra Vista Unified, Santa Cruz Valley, Nogales, Flowing Wells, Tanca Verde, and Vail. Now, that's the list so far. There could be more districts added to this group. Some of them are still waiting to make a decision on whether to close tomorrow as well. Meanwhile, in Phoenix, lawmakers are figuring out how to pay for Governor Ducey's plan of 20 by 20. Yesterday, the governor's staff held a meeting to go over details of funding Arizona's education, but apparently there was not much agreement.
We were basically subjected to a lecture with a whole bunch of talking points that we've heard before about how the governor believes that his plan is 100% funded and totally sustainable.
A spokesman for the governor says he wants to work something out as soon as possible.
He's not willing to compromise on 20% by school year 2020, and he's not willing to play shell games. This can't be just moving one pot of money to another.
Meanwhile, the Arizona American Federation of Teachers is proposing a 2.5% tax on services like things like haircuts, legal aid, and consulting to pay for more classroom funding. Now, there was a show of solidarity for educators as Red for Ed supporters lined Broadway yesterday. 9 on your side's Max Darrow shares what some educators hope this will accomplish.
From the honking, you'd think you were on Broadway in New York City. But nope, this is Broadway in Harrison in Tucson. Lined with teachers like John Muritz, bus drivers like Cindy Graybill, and other support staff and community members, all with a message for state lawmakers.
Our schools they already are at a critical stage. They've got to do something about it.
We're the supporting staff for the teachers. We need to be recognized too.
What would you like to see be done?
I'd like to see 20% across the board.
Governor Ducey's 20 by 2020 plan would increase teacher salaries by 20% by the year 2020. These people say that won't fix the problem. So the big picture here, it's not just about teacher salaries. All of these people here at this intersection and down Broadway are fighting for more funding for the entire education system. On Thursday, teachers will walk out. More than a dozen districts across southern Arizona will have to close their schools. While this is unfortunate, Moritz says it's the only way their message will be heard loud and clear.
When will they listen? Will they listen if suddenly we said, yeah, over the summer, oh, we're going to walk out? It'll make no statement at all. This is the only way that we can get our message across.
I'd like this walkout to accomplish getting back in, educating our children, and being back on the road as a school bus driver.
Max Darrow, KGUN 9, on your side.
Meanwhile, on the U of A campus, there are graduates with degrees in education. KGUN 9's Craig Smith caught up with some on what they think of today's strike.
As current teachers prepare to strike for higher pay, how does their fight look to future teachers training here at U of A's College of Education? Students here are investing plenty of time and money into teaching careers that will continue to require plenty of time, but will probably not pay them much money. Now they're about to watch people in their future careers now walk out on strike.
I think it's a good idea. I feel like teachers need to be paid more, especially since class sizes are getting bigger. It's not fair for class sizes to be increasing and teachers not to be getting paid enough for that.
I think it's a really great thing, and I think that it's really cool to see so many professionals now laying the groundwork for our generation to have a better work environment.
But does the fact that teachers feel they need to walk out of classrooms make education students rethink their career choice?
Absolutely not. Huge advocate for public education, will always be.
Yes, at times it may be a deterrent, but at the end of the day, if I want to be a teacher because I love it and because I love kids, nothing's going to stop that.
Craig Smith, KGUN 9 on your side.
Well, if you are a parent and you don't know where to bring your kid today, there are some free options for you. 9 on your side's Priscilla Casper takes us through where parents can get their kids, where they can take their kids on a budget.
Churches and organizations are stepping up to help parents out during the teacher walkout. Today, Victory Worship Center near Flowing Wells is preparing their rooms and activities for tomorrow.
We are prepared for about 1,100 students.
Students K through 6th grade can register for the free day camp. They can be dropped off at 7:30 in the morning and pickup is at 5 p.m.
There are movies, obviously there's snacks, there's lunch, just crafts and involvement, just trying to keep the kids engaged throughout the course of the day.
There's even a splash pad to keep the kids cool.
We just really believe in a tough situation like this, for parents, for teachers, that we just want to serve our community.
On the Southside Presbyterian Church is offering a free day of camp for K through 5th grade. They're able to take in about 50 students.
The kids will be making signs and they'll be learning about history of the Farm Workers Union and what it means to organize and what the struggle for social justice looks like. So there'll be some thematic programming that will be happening.
John Venezuela Youth Center near 6th Ave and 22nd Street will be offering the same program for students. Another option is the Pima County Library that offers different activities for kids throughout the day, but if the child is under 8 years old, they have to be with an adult. The city of Tucson just announced they'll offer its KidCo program at certain recreation centers. That'll be from 7:30 in the morning until 6 p.m. on Thursday and Friday for kids. The cost, just $5. For a detailed list or how to register for one of these options, head to kgun9.com. Priscilla Casper, KGUN 9 on your side.
Well, California investigators say they caught a serial killer who has been dormant for nearly 40 years. How they found the man they say is the Golden State Killer. Plus, pesky bugs in the desert. It's that time of year when they start coming out. We'll show you a solution from an Arizona inventor. I wonder if they have something for allergies as well, April.
Gosh, they would hit the big time if they did. I'll tell you, we saw a pretty bright moon this morning. We'll tell you when it's going to be officially full coming up. It's 4:38. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side.
Welcome back. Now the time is 4:40. We probably won't know the decision for at least a few more weeks, but it appears the Supreme Court is leaning toward upholding the Trump administration's travel ban. The legality of the ban was argued before the justices yesterday, and court observers say the 5-member conservative majority seemed to react favorably. In an unusual move, we're allowed to hear the audio of those oral arguments. Corey Rangel has the developments.
As the Supreme Court took on President Trump's travel ban, Justice Elena Kagan perhaps summed it up best on how we ended up here.
This is a out-of-the-box kind of president in my hypothetical.
The current version of the travel ban restricts people from 7 countries from entering the U.S. 5 of those are predominantly Muslim. Supporters of the ban argue it's necessary for national security purposes. Opponents say it discriminates against Muslims, but the lawyer arguing for Trump disagreed.
This is not a so-called Muslim ban. If it were, it would be the most ineffective Muslim ban that one could possibly imagine, since not only does it exclude the vast majority of the Muslim world, it also omits 3 Muslim-majority countries that were covered by past orders.
Conservative Justice Samuel Alito agreed.
If you look at what was done, it does not look at all like a Muslim ban.
Attorneys arguing against the ban call it a dangerous precedent.
And to accept it here is to accept that the president can take an iron wrecking ball to the statute and pick and choose things that he doesn't want for purposes of our immigration code.
But Justice Sonia Sotomayor wondered if the president overstepped his authority.
Where does a president get the authority to do more than Congress has already decided is adequate.
After today's hearing, experts say it appears President Trump has enough justices on his side to uphold his travel ban, but the Supreme Court will issue its ruling before the end of its term in June. In Washington, D.C., I'm Corey Rangel.
Heightened security and heightened emotions as Republican lawmakers return to the baseball field where they were attacked by a gunman a year ago. They were back on the field for the first time yesterday in Alexandria, Virginia. Last June, 4 people were shot, including Representative Steve Scalise, who is still recovering. The team's getting ready for the annual congressional baseball game for charity and say they will overcome the attack.
To be in that dugout where there's still the marks of the bullet holes there and is kind of a surreal experience. It's my first time back to the field. This was important.
It was important to come out here and show the world that we're not going to be deterred.
The charity baseball game is June 14th. It's been held every year since 1909. A crime alert for you now this morning. A serial killer on the run for decades may now be behind bars. Sacramento police say they've caught the Golden State Killer, a book delving into the 40-year-old case published less than 2 months ago. And now we're learning how police tracked down a man they say hasn't killed since the 1980s. Whit Johnson reports.
Tonight, hiding in plain sight, police say one of the most elusive serial killers in American history has been captured outside his suburban home.
We found the needle in the haystack, and it was right here in Sacramento.
Law enforcement now identifying 72-year-old Joseph James D'Angelo as the Golden State Killer. The once married former police officer now under arrest for a violent crime spree that terrorized California for more than 40 years.
He was committing the crimes during the time he was employed as a peace officer, and obviously we'll be looking into whether it was actually on the job.
Detectives working the case for decades, but D'Angelo not a suspect until days ago when they got a break. They say cutting-edge DNA testing allowed them to make a match.
We were able to get some discarded DNA, and we were able to confirm what we thought we already knew, that we had our man.
At least 12 murders, 45 rapes, and more than 100 burglaries spread fear across the state in the 1970s and 80s. His voice allegedly heard in this chilling phone call taunting one of his victims. Those crimes meticulously planned. The suspect wearing a ski mask would break into homes, gag, blindfold, and tie up his female prey before carrying out his brutal attacks. Today, police could be seen searching D'Angelo's home in this quiet Sacramento neighborhood. His neighbors stunned.
He was just an odd guy, kind of kept to himself, but had a temper.
For the victims' families, overwhelming relief.
It is time for all victims to grieve and to take measure one last time.
18-year-old Janelle Cruz, the last known victim, was murdered in 1986. Soon after, her sister Michelle fled California, fearing for her own safety.
The feeling is undescribable. I am so happy. I feel so blessed. We finally got the guy who brutally raped and murdered my sister.
And this is just the beginning. That key piece of DNA evidence came to light only 6 days ago. Prosecutors say that DNA and the methods he used links dozens of cases up and down the state. They're promising more charges in the coming days. Whit Johnson, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Now, K-Gun 9 on your side first warning weather with meteorologist April Madison.
Good morning. Welcome to your Thursday. 4:45. Not bad outside. Nice, though. We're seeing a lot of 50s and mid-60s in Tucson. 65 at the airport, 64 here on the east side. It is going to be another unseasonably warm day, though, across southern Arizona. Phoenix and Gila Bend right now still in the 70s. We're going to hit right around 94, so only about a degree or two cooler today compared to the last couple of days across southern Arizona. Our average is, again, 85, so we're staying well above that. We are looking at probably next week before we see those 80s return. But boy, are we going to see a big cool down once that happens. We go to our satellite radar. We've been watching just a little bit of cloud cover moving up from the south, and it's from the south and east that we're going to see that moisture increasing as we get a little bit closer to the weekend. However, rain chances for Tucson are actually starting to diminish. They weren't that great to begin with, only about a 10%, but likely a little bit still there. High pressure starting to weaken, move south, and that's why these clouds are kind of still moving up and over that ridge. But as it continues to make its way east, we will eventually see more moisture kind of creeping up, probably right here along this section of the state Friday night into Saturday. Winds will also be a big story next week. Now tomorrow, you kind of see this wave just come in the morning hours. We're expecting wind gusts possibly as high as 35 in Tucson. Sustained winds won't be as bad in Tucson, a little bit more so east of us, but the stronger winds will come in next week, and that's what will bring on a much more significant cool down. However, that's going to happen next week. So what's nice is for that next full moon, we should have pretty clear skies for the viewing of it. It's official on Sunday, April 29th at 5:58 p.m. It's also known as the pink moon, which represents the first flowers of spring. Usually in North America, they are pink, and that's the reason for the name there. But otherwise, we are going to see some pretty clear skies on that day if you want to get some shots of it. Staying warm into the weekend, but there it is, only about a 10% chance for some PM showers, mainly over the higher elevations Friday into Saturday. But look at next week, these winds of change bringing in 80s and possibly even 70s by Wednesday. Big Al?
April, you said it's a pink moon?
Pink.
I'm going to call it a Mary Kay moon. 448. For those of you Mary Kay ladies, you know exactly what I'm talking about. 22nd Street, Interstate 10. No issues here this morning. Very nice travel all the way down toward I-19 with no problems. But we do have an update for you on a couple of streets. One of them is the Ajo work there between Kinney and Ryan Field. It's kind of the forgotten project along Ajo Way. This is a project that, in addition to the Ajo interchange of I-19, is a significant slowdown between Kinney and Ryan Field. And then further out, there's a piece between Ryan and Fuller. That's about 11 miles worth of work unrelated to that. But paving work continues today there. Also, we got a date on permanent striping for our Midvale viewers. It's going to be probably around June 24th. They'll do it at night. That's the latest from our First Warning Traffic Center.
Thank you, Big Al. Arizona's Department of Transportation is getting into drones. Crews are using them now, as you can see here. This is from a project on Route 88 near Apache Junction. The money mostly comes from the feds, with some coming from the state. The drones help survey sites easier and help make for faster inspections. Well, we all know what hot temperatures are like in the desert, and with that hot weather comes pesky bugs. Lexi Suter with our Phoenix sister station spoke to one Arizona man who has a solution: the fly light.
Just like a vacuum cleaner.
It's an idea that came from an everyday annoyance.
I mean, everybody's had the fly flying around their house, the one that's kind of straggler.
So two relatives in the pest control business decided to start working on a project aimed at solving that problem.
It's really simple. It's a light bulb. It's got a fan on the inside, and all it does is it attracts the flies with the light and then sucks them in with the air.
You put this special light bulb called the fly light in one of your light fixtures, anywhere you want.
Instead of you having one place you're catching the fly, you can pick multiple locations to put the light bulb in.
Built right here in Buckeye, their invention took over 3 years to perfect. But this pair is certain it will sell.
We've got plenty of other light bulbs in different shapes and sizes we're going to be creating. So
this is just a start?
Yeah, just a start.
Lexi Suter, ABC 15, Arizona.
Well, do you love shopping, or maybe you hate it? Either way, we're sure you'll like it more if you can save a little money along the way. Always good to save money. Annie Taylor is testing out the top apps to find out which will save you the most.
Whether you are shopping at home, online, or you're at a big store, price comparing is going to be your new best friend, and all you need is your smartphone.
First app, there is Scan Life. We found it super easy. You simply scan the barcode, and retailers like Walmart, Target, Kmart will pop up their cost of that item, and you'll be able to see who has the lowest price. Plus, you can click on the price and it takes you to the website, so you can purchase it right then and there. Now, Shop Savvy. It has the largest database of retailers and prices. Scanning the barcode will allow you to price compare at those big box stores on and offline. With this app, you can think bigger than grocery store items. It also showcases discounts and sales going on at other stores and items you might not have thought of.
best deals on products you want.
Okay, if you want your item right away and don't want to wait for it to get sent to you in the mail, download Buy Via. After scanning the item, it'll show you local stores nearby that have great deals on it. Buy Via even lets you sign up for a price drop alert and create your personal shopping list through the app.
After we tested all 3 apps on a pack of batteries, we found that Shop Savvy gave us the best deals. But again, it all depends on what item you put into the system and what items they have in their database.
That was Annie Taylor reporting. Now, how often do you check out online reviews before you buy something? And how often do you wonder, is that review real? The Washington Post just checked this out and found some questionable reviews on Amazon, most often with Bluetooth speakers, Bluetooth headphones, and diet pills. The reviews appear to violate Amazon's ban on paid reviews. So here's what you need to watch out for. According to Review Meta, a site that analyzes suspicious reviews on Amazon, look for reviews that have repeat phrases in them. Also beware if a flood of reviews for one product show up on the same day. Amazon banned paying for reviews more than a year ago. It claims more than 99% of online reviews on its site are legitimate. Well, it was the first home playoff game for the Roadrunners last night, and they did not disappoint. Post-game coverage from the Tucson Arena coming up. It's 4:52. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side. Welcome back now at 4:54. We knew it would be a whiteout, but we also got a shutout. The Roadrunners won their first ever home playoff game last night versus San Jose, and it was the game 3 of their AHL playoff series. In the first period, the Roadrunners jumped out to a 1-0 lead as Dylan Storm assisted on this Michael Bunting goal. The Roadrunners added 5 more unanswered goals to win 6-0, their largest margin of the victory all season. Tucson now has a 2-1 series lead. They can win the series on Friday.
Our compete level was there throughout the full 60 minutes, and that's what you want to see. And when you get off to the start that we got off to, obviously it enables you to play with a little bit more confidence. It's a lot easier when you're playing with the puck the whole time. Everyone gets confidence. Everyone was feeling it and feeling good, and the bench is positive, and it's just we kind of kept rolling from there.
Well, there is a national vote going around for the best zoo in the United States. The Desert Museum is in the running, but we have to make them number 1, and the polls will be closing soon. It's 4:55. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side. Welcome back now at 5:07. A new bill could get rid of a massive incentive for people to use electric cars. It would affect regular cars in Arizona, too. If it's passed, the bill will raise annual registration fees by $18 on regular cars and trucks. And for electric cars, a massive increase. The annual registration fee would go from $41 to about $140. But one electric car owner says it's not that bad.
Some think it's just terrible and we should never do it. And others like me say, wait a minute, we're already getting a heck of a deal.
As he says, the benefits of electric cars are the bigger picture, like no pollution. Each year, this bill would raise more than $140 million. That money would go to funds for the state highway patrol. Now, most times when you see a police officer, they're in a patrol car or sometimes on a motorcycle. But now you might see some in Tucson riding on some new wheels. Take a look. The Southern Arizona Law Enforcement Foundation bought Tucson police 4 new e-bikes. They also bought them 10 new patrol bikes. In total, the 14 bikes cost more than $30,000. Well, Marana police and DEA agents will be at a local Target this Sunday. They'll be on hand to take any old or expired prescription medications. Studies show prescription medications are getting into our water supply, and one of the reasons why is because old pills are being flushed in the toilet. Sewage treatment and filtration systems aren't able to take the meds out either. Now, if you go, it's from 10 till 2 on Saturday at the Target on Ina in Thornydale. Now, we're just learning this morning the White House doctor Ronnie Jackson has withdrawn his nomination as the VA secretary. The accusations that he's been facing from former colleagues and what lawmakers are saying now. Plus, Kanye West's recent political tweets have some shaking their heads. Why the rapper now appears to be supporting President Trump.
And we are going to see strong winds blowing in some changes. We'll tell you when that's going to happen and what those changes are coming up. It's 5:09. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side.
Well, just in this morning now at 5:12, Veterans Administration nominee Dr. Ronnie Jackson has withdrawn his name to run the second largest federal department. That's according to the Associated Press. Now, recent accusations of professional misconduct and drunken behavior came to light after President Trump put Jackson's name in the ring. Jackson was accused of drinking on the job, crashing a government car while drunk, and abusing his prescription writing privilege. Again, we just got the news that he has officially withdrawn this morning. Now, President Trump will host a group of wounded, ill, and injured veterans today at the White House. It's all part of the Wounded Warrior Project's Soldier Ride, a bike ride that encourages vets to push themselves beyond their comfort zones. George W. Bush started the tradition in 2008. The president has welcomed the group before and last year called them, quote, the real heroes. It's a make or break day for the embattled Environmental Protection Agency chief. Scott Pruitt will testify before two House committees. It's open to the public, and leaders are expected to question him about his excessive spending on travel that they say was excessive, and that the apartment he rented was rented so cheaply from the wife of an energy lobbyist. Pruitt faces nearly a dozen federal inquiries. Now, talks between President Trump's team and special counsel Robert Mueller are picking up again this morning. The newest Trump lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, is pushing Mueller to end his investigation. CNN reports Giuliani met Mueller yesterday and that their negotiations aren't done. According to the Washington Post, Giuliani asked when the investigation would be over. It also reports Mueller told Giuliani that interviewing Trump is crucial to ending the probe. Michael Cohen, personal attorney for President Donald Trump, filed court papers indicating he would plead the fifth against self-incrimination. It's regarding his alleged involvement in a hush money deal involving adult film star Stormy Daniels and the president. Cohen filed the declaration as part of an effort to have a civil lawsuit filed by Daniels put on hold due to a criminal investigation in New York. President Trump has a new friend on Twitter. Rapper Kanye West defended a picture of himself wearing a Make America Great Again hat. Some fans criticized his support of the president, but West was back on Twitter, sticking by the commander-in-chief, saying, quote, "The mob can't make me not love him." President Trump responded to the rapper, thanking him for the support.
Now, K-Gun 9 on your side first warning weather with meteorologist April Madison.
5:14. Take a look at your screen right now. You see those little green blips on the radar moving north into Fort Worth, Texas. Kind of looks like a little bit of rain, but it's not. It's actually not wind. It's not UFOs. They're birds. Cold weather coming to a close, so many bird species are heading back north for the summer. The National Weather Service radar cut some of that migration. You can see it right there. Apparently, it's normal to see giant flocks around this time of year, and they've been doing this for years. A lot of times we see that knowing there's no weather imminent or around us. We oftentimes call that ground clutter, which can be a dust storm and or birds. So there you are, seeing it right there. 5:15, nice outside right now, mostly clear skies. Got a few just very high-level wispy clouds making for probably what will be another gorgeous sunrise to the east. 64 at the airport and here on the east side. There it is, though. If you look at the radar again, we've been watching it all coming up from the south, which you would think would be bringing up our moisture, and it is slightly. It could be much drier. Unfortunately, there's just not enough moisture packed into those clouds to bring us much in the way of rain chances. That'll change, but mostly for those areas east of us. Today, highs not changing much from the last several days, maybe a degree or two cooler in some locations, but other places may even see a degree or two above what they've seen the past couple of days. So a lot of 80s and low to mid 90s, even some upper 90s. Check this out, 97 in Sells and Ajo today. Phoenix looking to see its first 100, by the way. 94 in Tucson. Yesterday we were at 95. So we're not going to see a lot of wind today, and really not a lot of wind tomorrow, but you watch this wave kind of coming in, this red here. That's usually an indicator of stronger sustained winds. There are some areas that will see some breezy winds in the morning hours tomorrow, especially to our east, with wind gusts possibly reaching into the 30s, even in Tucson. But the stronger winds, that's yet to come. That'll be next week, and that's what's going to bring back the 80s and possibly even 70s. Today, we are going to be at 94, nearly 10 degrees above average. By Monday, we'll be right at where we should be, that average of 86 by Wednesday. Look at that. We plummet nearly 10 degrees below average, looking to see right around 77. So kind of remains to be seen right now how long we're actually going to hold on to those 70s, but we are expected to see it by the middle of next week with all of that wind moving in. I can tell you that the rain chances have actually started to go down for Tucson Friday night into Saturday. today. We still see about a 10%, but most of that will be over the higher elevations and east of Tucson. So we're not expecting a whole lot. It's just been so dry. Virga is about all we may see out of those clouds. But again, 80s and 70s next week, and a much cooler, breezy week ahead. Big Al?
17 minutes past 5, April. Decent travel morning. Our freeway system, we're keeping an eye on it. Not a problem for us so far. So we'll focus on some things that are going on around town that you may run into either this morning or maybe this afternoon, certainly this weekend if you're out and about. One of them is Craycroft. The paving's done, the temporary striping's done. What's left to do? Chipping out the water valve covers, which they've been doing. They'll be done with that in about a month or so, Friday the 18th of May. So in the meantime, you probably could use Swan Road to get around it. I wouldn't use Wilmot because Wilmot's the next one in the barrel. As you know, they're paving Wilmot now between Golf Links all the way up to Pima Street. Got a pretty decent alternative, Kolb Road, east of Wilmot. I would not use Craycroft to get around the Wilmot work. That's the latest from our First Warning Traffic Center.
Thanks, Big Al. Well, car buyers these days love their SUVs, and Ford is listening to them. The cars the motor company is getting rid of, and is your favorite sticking around? Plus, Subway is getting rid of a huge chunk of stores, but adding close to 1,000 more. We'll tell you where and why. It's 5:18. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side. In your Consumer Watch this morning, for the first time since the Cambridge Analytica scandal surrounding Facebook and its data, the social network is talking money, and revenues are apparently up for the company. Facebook says its quarterly revenue rose nearly 50% to just shy of $12 billion compared to a year ago.
Wow. Well, this morning, Ford is planning to get rid of most of its cars. The only passenger car models it plans to actually keep on the market in North America will be the Mustang and the upcoming Ford Focus Active. That means the Fiesta, Taurus, Fusion, and the regular Focus will all disappear in the U.S. and Canada. However, Ford will continue to offer its full gamut of trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. This is Ford's plan to cut costs since many of the sedan models have become unpopular with consumers.
Subway is closing more U.S. stores while expanding internationally. The chain says it will shut down 500 stores this year on the heels of hundreds of closures over the last 2 years. Subway currently has about 26,000 locations in the U.S., so still many.
Quite a few.
It's launching a new loyalty program, remodeling stores to look sleeker and adding touchscreen kiosks for ordering. Meanwhile, the chain plans to add more than 1,000 stores in Britain, Germany, and Asia.
Wow.
Interesting.
Well, the new boss at Chipotle has some changes in mind. CEO Brian Nichols says he wants to tweak the menu, redesign restaurants, offer more options for deliveries, and maybe even open drive-through windows at certain locations. This is Chipotle's latest attempt to recover after a 2015 E. coli outbreak that sent sales plunging.
Well, if you know a kid over 7, you probably know a kid who loves YouTube. Does your son like YouTube?
Yeah, he's not seven yet, but he has tried to get me to allow him to already put stuff on YouTube.
They can figure it out so quickly, can't they?
Yes, it's incredible. He knows how to work the screen better than I do. Yeah.
Well, after complaints that inappropriate content was making its way through their kids' app, YouTube decided to tweak it. The new program will give parents, not algorithms, the right to choose what their children watch. The update comes out today. I would imagine that would be a welcome thing for parents.
He's got a couple of games that have that option too, where you can
control a little bit of that.
So I'm thankful for that.
Because videos just pop up. You never know.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, Amazon unveiled a kid-friendly version of its Echo Dot smart speaker powered by voice assistant Alexa. The Echo Dot Kids Edition plays music and answers questions, but the answers are tailored to a child audience. For example,
this is so cool.
If a child asks if Santa is real, Alexa dodges the question, saying she hasn't met him and is curious about Rudolph's nose. Well, we all know he's real, so that's the answer to that question.
And we know that Rudolph's nose is red.
Well, the new device is likely to prompt concerns about privacy. However, an Amazon spokeswoman emphasized that it only listens for the wake word Alexa. And politeness is going to count when it comes to talking to Alexa. Amazon says after an update next month, Alexa will thank kids who ask questions nicely. The update is called Free Time for Alexa. It will also include parental controls that will block kids from making voice purchases and filter explicit lyrics from songs.
We need that. We need that because kids are buying all kinds of stuff with Alexa.
I have heard, you always see those crazy stories of somebody will get a package in the mail and it's like $17,000 worth of eBay stuff.
Because the kid was like, oh, Alexa, purchase this.
Buy this game.
This thing,
Buy this.
Alexa. She's okay, Colton. Done.
Do you have an Alexa?
No, and that is exactly why.
I always find myself screaming at it. You don't have to yell at Alexa, but I'm always like, Alexa, play music.
She's like, okay,
like,
Whitney.
You don't have to yell.
We should have that added.
They're like,
you don't need
to yell.
Well, with the majority of school districts closed for the rest of the week, some parents are scrambling to find childcare.
Yeah, now many groups and businesses in the Tucson area are stepping up to fill the gap. We'll tell you some of the places you can send your child. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side.
Good Morning Tucson starts right now.
Now on GMT, the statewide educators strike is set to begin this morning. Why they say the state needs to raise teacher pay and school funding. Plus reaction from education students. Does the walkout have them reconsidering their career choices? Good morning to you, Tucson, and a happy Thursday to you. I'm Whitney Clark. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll get to that top story in just a moment. First, let's say good morning to April Madison for a look outside. Hey, April.
Good morning to you. 64, not bad, much like the last several days. We start the day very nice. We're just not ending it quite as nicely. So it warms up pretty quickly. In fact, already into the low 70s by the 8 o'clock hour, nearing 90 by noon. So if you can do all of your outdoor activity before that noon time, that's probably your safest bet. 94 and partly cloudy for the high today. Big Al?
5:30, April Madison. Let's take a look at a little something down on Drexel Road. Drexel's closed between Country Club and Tucson Boulevard because of a warehouse being built. As a condition of the permit being issued, the city has told the contractor and the owner that they have to build some underground flooding retention. And so that's what they're doing there. That's why it's closed until May 4th. That's the latest from our First Warning Traffic Center.
Thank you, Big Al. Hundreds of thousands of kids will not be in school as teachers begin their walkout over more school funding. Arizona educators are set to begin their strike this morning, and up to 50,000 people are expected to be at the state capitol. This is some video from a stand out yesterday. Now, this comes despite Governor Doug Ducey's plan for a 20% teacher pay raise by 2020. Organizers of this Red for Ed movement say Ducey's plan does not address stable school funding and other demands. Now, all of the major school districts in southern Arizona will be closed, more than a dozen. That includes Tucson Unified, Marana, Sahuarita, Catalina Foothills, Sunnyside, Benson, Amphi Public Schools, Douglas, Sierra Vista Unified, Santa Cruz Valley, Nogales, Flowing Wells, Tanca Verde, and Vail. Now, some are still waiting to make a decision on whether or not they will be closing tomorrow as well. Now, earlier this week, TUSD Superintendent Dr. Gabriel Trujillo said they just don't have the staff available to safely supervise kids. No childcare will be provided, no buses will run, but food, breakfast, and lunch will be served to students. A 1 or 2 day work stoppage will not add more days to the school calendar, but more than 3 days could extend the instructional year. Well, pretty soon some Tucson teachers will be heading up to Phoenix to gather at the state capitol. 9 on your side's Jennifer Martinez joins us live from the east side, where some of those educators will take off later this morning. Good morning, Jennifer.
Well, good morning, Whitney. It's pretty empty right now, but in a couple of hours, this parking lot, it will be filled with more than 100 teachers. But that's not it. In various locations, there's going to be more than 1,000 teachers heading up north. Now, it's a list of demands that educators are asking for: better pay and competitive wages, as you mentioned, Whitney. But many people say, well, the governor met that proposed plan by proposing a 20% raise throughout 3 years. But part of the challenge is that Governor Doug Ducey only proposed that to classroom teachers, not all certified staff. Jason Freed, president of the Tucson Educators Association, says that's unacceptable. He says it takes more than just the classroom teachers to educate our kids. So salaries need to include everyone, including including counselors and other staff. Educators are demanding yearly raises until Arizona teachers' salary reaches the national average. Another demand, infrastructure. Freed says buildings are crumbling. Teachers are also demanding school funding to return to 2008 levels, including decrease in class sizes and better resources. Freed says even materials are out of date and falling apart. Educators say they don't want any new tax cuts until Arizona per pupil spending reaches national average as well.
And we're coming for a very clear purpose. This governor has shortchanged our kids. The previous governor has shortchanged our kids. $1.1 billion currently, and that's just this year. If you look at it cumulatively, it's over $10 billion that our state has shortchanged our kids, and we really can wait no longer.
And this morning, more than 1,000 teachers will be heading up north, as we mentioned, Whitney, and the bus will be leaving from the Temple on Craycroft and 5th at 8:30 this morning. And Whitney, they're expecting more than 20,000 teachers, even 50,000 teachers in Phoenix. Back to you.
Meanwhile, Governor Doug Ducey continues to push his plan to raise teacher pay 20% over 3 years that Jennifer just mentioned in her live hit there. A spokesperson for the governor saying he's been working for the last 2 nights, meeting with individual lawmakers and trying to strike a deal. His spokesman says Governor Ducey wants to work something out as soon as possible.
He's not willing to compromise on 20% by school year 2020, and he's not willing to play shell games. This can't be just moving one pot of money to another.
Well, the Arizona American Federation of Teachers is proposing a 2.5% tax on services like haircuts, legal aid, and consulting to pay more for teacher funding. Now, with current teachers walking out for better pay, we asked U of A education majors how their future careers look to them. Education students we asked say they support the idea of the strike and say the job action may improve working conditions when they graduate and join the profession. Some say the state of the teaching profession may lead them to a career change, but most of the education majors, they say, are still committed to teaching, even with the challenges they know they'll face. We have a full updates on this on our website, kgun9.com. Churches and organizations are stepping up to help parents out this morning, where you can keep your kid safe for free during today's teacher walkout. Plus, pesky bugs in the desert. It's that time of year when they start coming out. We'll show you a solution from an Arizona inventor. It's 5:35. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side. Welcome back now at 5:38. If you are a parent and don't know where to bring your kid today during the teacher walkout, there are some options for you for free. Victory Worship Center near Flowing Wells is taking in 1,100 kindergarten through 6th graders for a free day camp. Southside Presbyterian Church and the John Valenzuela Youth Center are offering a free day of camp for K through 5th graders. Now, the City of Tucson's KidCo program will be offered all day at certain recreation centers for $5. For a detailed list or how to register for one of these options, head to kgun9.com. Well, it was the first home playoff game for the Roadrunners last night, and they did not disappoint. Post-game coverage from the Tucson Arena coming up.
And you may have seen that bright moon this morning. We'll tell you when it will be officially full coming up. Whitney?
Thank you so much, April. But first, Gmail is introducing several new features, including one that allows users to send emails that self-destruct. ABC's Diane Macedo and Candace Gibson have the details in today's Tech Bites. Welcome back now at 5:45. This morning, scientists want doctors to deprescribe certain medicines they say could be linked to dementia. Researchers just published the biggest study of its kind of hundreds of thousands of health records. They found people who took certain drugs for depression, Parkinson's, and bladder control for 4 to 20 years were more likely to be diagnosed with a dementia. Researchers say the study doesn't prove the drugs cause dementia. At least 31 more people have become sick over an E. coli outbreak tied to romaine lettuce. The total number of cases now stands at 84, spreading to 19 states. The CDC says at this point, throw out all romaine lettuce. The source is said to be from Yuma producers. Well, we all know what hot temperatures are like in the desert, and with that hot weather comes pesky bugs. Lexi Suter with our Phoenix sister station spoke to one Arizona man who has a solution: the fly light.
just like a vacuum cleaner.
It's an idea that came from an everyday annoyance.
I mean, everybody's had the flying around their house, the one that's kind of straggler.
So two relatives in the pest control business decided to start working on a project aimed at solving that problem.
It's really simple. It's a light bulb. It's got a fan on the inside, and all it does is it attracts the flies with the light and then sucks them in with the air.
You put this special light bulb called the fly light in one of your light fixtures, anywhere you want.
Instead of you having one place you're catching the fly, you can pick multiple locations to put the light bulb in.
Built right here in Buckeye, their invention took over 3 years to perfect, but this pair is certain it will sell.
We've got plenty of other light bulbs in different shapes and sizes we're going to be creating. So
this is just a start?
Yeah, just a start.
Lexi Suter, ABC 15, Arizona.
Checking in around this world this morning now at 5:46. Today, history will be made on the Korean Peninsula. The leaders of North and South Korea will meet after the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un walks across the border. The two leaders will plant a tree together, and Kim will inspect an honor guard. The talks are expected to focus largely on North Korea's nuclear program and maybe about finally and formally ending the Korean War. Meghan Markle will marry her real-life prince in less than a month. But first, and somewhat ironically, she had to wear a wedding gown in her final appearance on USA Network's Suits. She's played the character Rachel Zane on the legal drama for 7 seasons, but is trading her acting life for the royal life. As for Suits, it was renewed for an 8th season and will continue on without her. A new memorial for peace and justice opens today in Alabama. The 6-acre site overlooking Montgomery and the art installed there is a tribute to the victims of racial terrorism. This installation you can see here includes 800 suspended steel rectangles, one for each U.S. county where lynching occurred. The founder hopes people will, quote, see the pain, but we also want them to see the humanity and the capacity to endure. The jury in the Bill Cosby sexual assault retrial will begin deliberating for a second day. The panel of 7 men and 5 women worked towards a verdict for 10 hours yesterday. The jury asked the judge to read back prior testimony. That's when the entertainer's lead lawyer nodded off. Cosby is facing 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault. Well, take a look at this. Caught on camera. This is a scary what would you do moment. A would-be robber tries to hold up a butcher shop in Monterrey, Mexico. You can see the cashier taking him down right there after he was pointing a gun. Now, as the robber turns his back, the cowboy tackled him like you just saw. Eventually, the man dropped his gun, and a number of store employees joined in and wrestled him to the ground as he tried to run away. Wow. Well, check this out. A North Carolina kayaker was rescued after he got stuck on a river. The man was stuck against logs and other debris near Charlotte. Firefighters ended up using a ladder to get a rope to the partially submerged man to keep him from going under. Then they used a boat to get him to safety. The kayaker was loaded into an ambulance and taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Well, police in California say the Golden State Killer is in custody this morning after a manhunt that spanned more than 40 years. Investigators say DNA evidence led them to a Sacramento area grandfather accused of a statewide crime spree, including at least 12 murders and dozens of rapes. ABC's Diane Macedo has the latest.
The FBI spent the night gathering evidence from Joseph D'Angelo's home, taking large bags of evidence and searching the backyard. Investigators say the former police officer is responsible for at least 12 murders, 45 rapes, and more than 100 burglaries that spread fear across California through the 70s and the 80s.
We found the needle in the haystack, and it was right here in Sacramento.
They surveyed him for several days and collected DNA evidence in the trash that authorities say links the 72-year-old to the crime spree.
We've always believed, at least for many years, that this case would begin and end with DNA. This defendant's been able to live free in a nice suburb in Sacramento. Our team is going to work hard to make sure that he never gets out.
According to authorities, a masked D'Angelo armed with a gun or knife would break into his victims' homes at night, sometimes tying up the man of the house and piling dishes on his back. He would then allegedly rape the woman of the house, threatening to kill them both if he heard the dishes tumble. Investigators say the suspect even called some of his victims after the attacks. Among D'Angelo's possible victims, 18-year-old Janelle Cruz, who was found murdered in her family's home, and Lyman and Charlene Smith. Both were found beaten to death with a log from their fireplace. But despite the brutality, the Smith's daughter says if convicted, she wants D'Angelo's life to be spared.
Save us all a bunch of money and agony and drama, and then I would like him to be in general population where he has to live every moment of his life in terror.
Diane Macedo, ABC News, New York.
Now, KGUN 9 on your side first warning weather with meteorologist April Madison.
5:51. We have just enough clouds in the sky to the east, made for a pretty cool sunrise. This is the view from our KGUN 9 studios here on the east side looking east. And then we've got temps starting to cool down a little bit in some locations because of the clearing, but we are expecting a little bit more cloud cover later today. 64 is what we've held on to at the airport in Tucson. Not getting a reading quite right now at Ajo and Sells, but 40s and 50s across Cochise and Santa Cruz. 94 yesterday and the day before we hit 95. So we're trying to get down. It's just going to take a while. Our average is about 85, so staying nearly 10 degrees above that, and really I'd say 6 to 10 degrees above average, probably even into the weekend. But we do have some changes headed our way eventually. The clouds, as you can see, are moving up from the south. That's where our high is right now, still set up to our south, and so these clouds kind of moving up and over that ridge. So obviously the ridge is still the biggest force when it comes to our weather pattern, bringing us these unseasonably warm temps, and these clouds are really not packing a lot of moisture just yet. Now, this other system way off the Pacific, eastern northwest coast and eastern Pacific is what will bring us wind and maybe a slight chance for rain over the higher elevations east of us. But you kind of watch this wave of wind that rolls in tomorrow morning. Typically, we see the stronger winds in the afternoon, but on Friday, at least, that's not expected to happen. The stronger winds will be in the morning with wind gusts possibly as high as 35 miles per hour. Then we should see some calming on Saturday with more wind to return into early next week. The good news is, though, even with any increasing cloud cover, the view for Sunday is looking nice, and that's when the moon will be officially full. Pretty bright out there this morning, but just before 6 p.m., the pink full moon will rise. First spring flowers is the reasons for its name, which is usually pink, kind of brings on a blanket of pink on the sky, or on the ground rather, and that's the reason for the name. But we are going to stay warm even with those clouds and very slight chance for rain. The winds, though, the winds of change next week for sure, cooling us back down to the 80s and even 70s by Wednesday. Big Al?
About 7 minutes till 6 o'clock, April Madison. We have an issue for those of you that are catching an early flight to Sky Harbor. I always try to keep an eye on that Phoenix to Tucson westbound, but I'll look at eastbound as well, connection, because we have a lot of people that fly out of Sky Harbor Airport in the early morning hours, and we have an issue this morning that could cause you a little bit of strain. This is right near the Sackatone rest stop, which, by the way, is closed. Early start because of a wreck on the westbound freeway. You'll need to stay to the right. The left-hand lane is restricted, and I don't see any big slowing yet, but I'm keeping an eye on this. That's the latest from our First Warning Traffic Center.
Thank you, Big Al. Well, we knew it would be a whiteout, but we also got a shutout. The Roadrunners won their first ever home playoff game last night versus San Jose, and it was a game 3 of their AHL playoff series. Now, in the first period, the Roadrunners jumped out to a 1-0 lead as Dylan Storm assisted on this Michael Bunting goal. See that there? The Roadrunners added 5 more unanswered goals to win 6-0, their largest margin of victory all season. Tucson now has a 2-1 series lead. They can win the series on Friday.
Our compete level was there throughout the full 60 minutes, and that's what you want to see. And when you get off the start that we got off to, obviously it enables you to play with a little bit more confidence. It's a lot easier when you're playing with the puck the whole time. Everyone gets confidence. Everyone was feeling it and feeling good, and the bench is positive, and it's just we kind of kept rolling from there.
Big congratulations to the team. Well, there's a national vote going around for the best zoo in the United States. The Desert Museum is in the running, but we have to make them #1, and the polls will be closing soon. It's 5:55. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side. Well, time is running out to vote for the Desert Museum as America's best zoo. This is a USA Today poll of all the zoos across the country. At last check, we're in about 4th place. But they've closed the leaderboard on the website because the results are coming soon. You can still vote, though. We've got the link on KGUN9.com. They recently opened up the Pack Rat Playhouse. And I hear it's fun for kids. Maybe it's fun for adults, news anchors, and
as we
yes,
call them.
like us?
Taller, maybe. Maybe not taller for me, but larger kids, older versions of kids.
that are technically adults that still enjoy
adult
zoos.
children. Can we? That's what we'll call ourselves.
That was the phrase I was looking for.
Adult children might like it too.
It's actually nice because it's different than a normal zoo because there's so much space.
Well, and it's
open. The exhibits are a little bit different than you'd see in a normal zoo.
Well, yeah, and it's more desert oriented, which is kind of what we stand for.
Well, so unique, obviously, compared to the other ones on the list.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, we'll keep
there. We're better.
We'll keep it here for another hour. GMT continues at 6.
Good Morning Tucson starts right now.
Now on GMT, thousands of classrooms will be empty today as teachers across the state go on strike. What's next and how it's impacting your kids? We have team coverage this morning as Governor Doug Ducey continues to push his plan to raise teacher pay, how state legislators are responding to the plan as teachers prepare to head to Phoenix for the rally. We'll have Jennifer Martinez and Kevin Boughton coming up for you shortly. Good morning, Tucson, and a happy Thursday to you. I'm Winnie Clark. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, our big story this morning, hundreds of thousands of kids will not be in school as teachers begin their walkout for more school funding. Arizona educators begin their strike today, and up to 50,000 people are expected to march to the state capitol. This comes despite Governor Doug Ducey's plan for a 20% teacher pay raise by 2020. Now, organizers of the Red for Ed movement say Ducey's plan doesn't address stable school funding and other demands. Now, here in southern Arizona, more than a dozen school districts will be closing for the walkouts. That includes Tucson Unified, Marana, Sahuarita, Catalina Foothills, Sunnyside, Benson, AM5 Public Schools, Douglas, Sierra Vista Unified, Santa Cruz Valley, Nogales, Flowing Wells, Tanque Verde, and Vail. Now, some districts will also be closed tomorrow. Others are still waiting to make a decision. Well, Tucson teachers are getting ready to head up to Phoenix for that rally with a goal in mind: change in the education system. Now, on your sides, Jennifer Martinez joins us live from a congregation near 5th and Craycroft. Jennifer, now this isn't the only place where teachers will be leaving from this morning, correct?
That's right, Whitney. There are various locations throughout Tucson where teachers will be leaving. Here at the Jewish Temple on 5th and Craycroft, they're going to be leaving about 8:30 this morning. There's going to be at least more than 100 teachers coming here. And yes, it is an empty parking lot, but it will be a jam-packed parking lot come 8:30 this morning. So what is it that teachers are demanding? Well, educators want a 20% raise for all teaching and certified staff. The governor proposed a raise, but it didn't include all staff. For example, counselors and special ed teachers. They also want competitive wages to retain teachers. Educators are asking to return school funding to 2008 levels, which means decreasing class sizes and better resources, and yearly raises until Arizona teacher salary reaches the national average, which averages about $58,000 a year. KGUN 9 spoke to one teacher, and she says she wouldn't have voted to walk out of classrooms, but change needs to take place.
However, now that it's here and the momentum's going, I'm definitely here to support it and feel like this is the momentum we need in Arizona to get something done. More educational support in all the classrooms, finances for the kids, smaller classrooms, finances for support staff, just a value to education in general, and for teacher pay.
And Whitney, as I mentioned, the bus here at the temple is set to leave at 8:30, and it is quiet and it is empty, but educators are coming together here in Tucson and Phoenix throughout the state for this historic day in Arizona. Whitney?
Thank you, Jennifer. Well, we know the demands from educators, so how is the governor and legislators responding to them? Now, joining us this morning is KGUN 9 on your side's Kevin Boughton, who is live on the way to Phoenix right now. So, Kevin, what can you and what should we be able to expect today at the state capitol?
Whitney, good morning. It's going to be big. They, Red for Ed folks say anywhere between 20,000 and 50,000 people are expected downtown today, and that's a big gap between 20 and 50, but even if it's on the low end, the Capitol grounds are going to be wall to wall with folks in red shirts. They're going to gather at Chase Field, a couple miles away from the Capitol, and march down to the Capitol. There is a formal program with a podium and speakers. That'll start at 1:30, and then there are more speakers after that all the way up until about 4:30. And of course, this being Arizona, it's going to land on the hottest day of the year. Real quick though, I want to show you something. We're on I-10 near Sackatoon, and this is what Big Al has been talking about all morning. This is the crash. So if you're sitting at home and you think, oh, I'm just going to drive myself up to Phoenix, maybe give yourself some extra time to prepare for this drive, because we have been stuck in stop-and-go traffic for about 25 minutes now. Whitney?
Traffic update, definitely important for people. So we heard from Jennifer the demands from the educators in our area. How is the governor and legislators responding to this morning?
Well, these Republican lawmakers, including Governor Ducey, are digging in. We've heard, like we heard at 5:30, the governor is sticking with his 20% raise by 2020 plan. Senate President Steve Yarbrough came out yesterday with a plan that said Senate Republicans are ready to get to work and pass this 20% by 2020 plan. So it seems like that's the plan from Republicans in Phoenix at the state capitol. Whether or not that holds through the budgeting process, we will see. But for now, it seems like 20% by 2020 is what they're offering, and it could be what teachers end up getting, even despite the strike. But this is Arizona, and it's Arizona politics. It is as unpredictable as it can be. Whitney?
Okay, thank you so much, Kevin. We will be checking in with him throughout the day as well. Now, as all of this unfolds, some parents may be scrambling to find daycare for their children. Now, if you are a parent and don't know where to bring your kid, there are some free options for you. Victory Worship Center near Flowing Wells is taking in 1,100 kindergarten through 6th graders for a free day camp. Now, Southside Presbyterian Church and the John Valenzuela Youth Center are offering a free day of camp for K through 5th graders. They are each taking in about 50 students. Also, Pima County libraries have some activities for students, and the City of Tucson's KidCo program will be offered all day at certain recreation centers for $5. Now, for a detailed list or how to register for one of these options, you can head to kgun9.com. The Community Food Bank also helping families. Now, food will be available for people at the Flowing Wells, Los Ranchitos, Palo Verde, and Southwest Family Resource Centers. Grijalva Elementary and the Wakefield Family Resource Center will also have food available. Now, we have been following this story. We will continue to follow this big story all day and be posting updates and stories on our website. You can also follow us on social media as we have live coverage throughout the day and how it's impacting your kids. Well, a new bill in the state legislature could change how much it costs to register your car, why the lawmakers say the increase is necessary, and what kinds of cars it will affect. Plus, this weekend you can clean out your medicine cabinet where you can dump the drugs. It is 6:06. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side. Welcome back now at 6:09. A new bill could get rid of a massive incentive for people to use electric cars. It would affect regular cars in Arizona too. Now, if it's passed, the bill will raise annual registration fees by $18 on regular cars and trucks. And for electric cars, a massive increase. The annual registration fee would go up from $41 to about $410. Now, each year this bill would raise more than $140 million. That money would go to the funds for the State Highway Patrol. Marana police and DEA agents will be at a local Target this Sunday. They'll be on hand to take any old or expired prescription medications. Studies show prescription medications are getting into our water supply. One of the reasons why is because old pills are being flushed in the toilet. Sewage treatment and filtration systems aren't able to take the meds out either. Now, if you go, it's from 10 until 2 Saturday at the Target on Ina and Thornydale. We're just learning this morning the White House doctor Ronnie Jackson has withdrawn his nomination for VA secretary. The accusations from former colleagues and what lawmakers are saying now. Plus, Kanye West's recent political tweets have some shaking their heads. Why the rapper now is supporting President Donald Trump.
Strong winds about to blow back into the forecast, bringing on some changes. We'll go over the details coming up at 6:10. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side.
Checking in around the nation this morning now at 6:14. Veterans Administration nominee Dr. Ronnie Jackson has withdrawn his name to run the second largest federal department. That's some new information into our newsroom this morning. Now, recent accusations of professional misconduct and drunken behavior came to light after President Trump put Jackson's name in the ring. Jackson was accused of drinking on the job, crashing a government car while drunk, and abusing his prescription writing privilege. President Trump will host a group of wounded, ill, and injured veterans today at the White House. It's all part of the Wounded Warrior Project's Soldier Ride, a bike ride that encourages vets to push themselves beyond their comfort zones. George W. Bush started the tradition in 2008. Trump has welcomed the group before and last year called them, quote, the real heroes. Well, it's a make-or-break day for the embattled Environmental Protection Agency chief. Scott Pruitt will testify before two House committees. It's open to the public, and leaders are expected to question him about his excessive spending on travel and that apartment he rented so cheaply from the wife of an energy lobbyist. Pruitt faces nearly a dozen federal inquiries. Talks between President Trump's team and special counsel Robert Mueller are picking up again this morning. The newest Trump lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, is pushing Mueller to end his investigation. CNN reports Giuliani met Mueller yesterday and that their negotiations aren't done. Now, according to the Washington Post, Giuliani asked when the investigation would be over. It also reports Mueller told Giuliani that interviewing Trump is crucial to ending the probe. Well, Michael Cohen, personal attorney for President Donald Trump, filed court papers indicating he would plead the fifth against self-incrimination. It's regarding his involvement in a hush money deal involving adult film star Stormy Daniels and the president. Cohen filed the declaration as part of an effort to have a civil lawsuit filed by Daniels put on hold because of the criminal investigation in New York. President Trump apparently has a new friend on Twitter. Rapper Kanye West defended a picture of himself wearing a Make America Great Again hat. Some fans were criticizing his support of the president, but West was back on Twitter, sticking by the commander-in-chief, saying, quote, the mob can't make me not love him. President Trump responded to Kanye, thanking him for the support.
Now, K-Gun 9 on your side first warning weather with meteorologist April Madison.
Good morning. Check this out. This video is actually from a Texas radar showing where those arrows are right there. You can see a little bit of just little green blips moving towards Fort Worth, Texas. Not wind, not rain. Certainly not UFOs. Yeah, that's a flock of birds. The cold weather coming to a close. So many bird species are actually heading back north for the summer. The National Weather Service radar caught some of that migration as it's happening. Apparently, we all know it is normal to see giant flocks around this time of year, and they've been doing this for years. They don't always pop up on the radar, but sometimes we see things even when we know there is no weather imminent, and you're thinking, what could that be? Sometimes it's ground clutter, it can be dust, but in that particular case, it was a flock of birds. Kind of cool to see there. Often as the sun rises, we see our coolest temps of the morning, and yes, that's happening. We have just enough clearing from that little bit of cloud cover out there. It has dropped temps now that the sun is up. 62 at the airport, or at the east side here, and 63 at the airport. But you see these kind of high wispy clouds. They're going to stick around off and on throughout the day. We'll see a good mix of clouds and sun moving up from the south, southwest, kind of crossing over towards the east. That blanket of clouds right there pushing into Pima County. So at times we'll get more sun, and other times we'll see a little bit more cloud cover. Temperature-wise, not going to do much to keep our highs down. Maybe a degree or two in some locations, but still a lot of mid to upper 80s and a lot of low to mid and even upper 90s in some locations. We've been talking about the heat in Phoenix today. If you got 97 in Ajo, 94 in Tucson, Phoenix looking to see its first 100 today. So it is going to be so far the hottest day of the season. Wind will be a little bit of a story. Look at this wave. It kind of comes in, this yellow, orange, and red wave that just kind of moves in into the early morning hours, and then by, I'd say, late to mid-morning, we're going to start seeing our sustained winds going up slightly, but the wind gusts will be a little higher into the 30s. This is kind of the winds of change upon us. This is the start of it. It's not going to be too bad. We'll see even a little bit of a break as we move into Saturday, but then Sunday into next week, those winds really pick up, and that's what's going to affect our temperatures, all based on a weather system to our north. So we're staying about 10 degrees above average today. We get back to average by Monday with that 86, and then plummet about 10 degrees below average by Wednesday of next week, expecting to hit about 77. After that, we could rebound back up, so a little bit too soon to tell for sure, but we are expecting a much cooler, breezy week next week with those 70s and 80s for the majority of the week. Big Al?
April 6-19, for whatever reason, if you're heading to Phoenix, red for Ed, Sky Harbor, visiting friends, no school, whatever the reason, got a problem up here on the way to Phoenix. This is north of Casa Grande, starting around McCartney Road, up towards Sackatone and the rest stop, which, by the way, is closed. Probably could have had it open today because of all the slowing that we have here. Stay to the right to get through. Here's a look at what videographer Jim Falzer took on the way up with Kevin Boughton to our state capitol. There's the wreck off to the left side of the roadway, not blocking, but look at this. It is a mess, and a stay right advisory, even though both travel lanes are open, it is still very, very slow. Probably an extra 20-30 minutes or so. If you're going to catch a flight at Sky Harbor, I'd leave now. Wouldn't mess around with this. That's the latest from our First Warning Traffic Center.
Thank you, Big Al. Well, car buyers these days love their SUVs, and Ford is listening to you. The cars the motor company is getting rid of, and is your favorite sticking around? Plus, Subway is getting rid of a huge chunk of stores, but adding close to 1,000 more. We'll explain where and why. It's 6:20. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side. In your Consumer Watch this morning, now at 6:22, for the first time since the Cambridge Analytica scandal surrounding Facebook and its data, the social network is talking money, and revenues are apparently up for the company. Facebook says its quarterly revenue rose nearly 50% to just shy of $12 billion compared to a year ago.
And this morning, Ford is planning to get rid of most of its cars. The only passenger car model it plans to keep on market in North America will be the Mustang and the upcoming Ford Focus Active. That means the Fiesta, Taurus, Fusion, and the regular Focus will disappear in the U.S. and Canada. However, Ford will continue to offer its full gamut of trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. This is Ford's plan to cut costs since many of the sedan models have become unpopular with consumers.
Subway is closing more U.S. stores while expanding internationally. The chain says it will shut down 500 stores this year on the heels of hundreds of closures over the last 2 years. Subway currently has about 26,000 locations in the U.S. It's launching a new loyalty program, remodeling stores to look sleeker and adding touchscreen kiosks for ordering. Meanwhile, the chain plans to add more than 1,000 stores in Britain, Germany, and Asia.
I love Subway. Also love Chipotle, and the new boss at Chipotle has some changes in mind. CEO Brian Nichols says he wants to tweak the menu, redesign restaurants, offer more options for deliveries, and maybe even open drive-through windows at certain locations. This is Chipotle's latest attempt to recover after a 2015 E. coli outbreak that sent sales plunging.
Well, if you know a kid over 7, your son isn't quite 7 yet, but he probably knows how to use YouTube and likes it.
Yes.
Well, after complaints that inappropriate content was making its way through their kid's app, YouTube decided to tweak it. The new program will give parents not algorithms, but the right to choose what their children watch. The update comes out today.
Love that. And Amazon unveiled a kid-friendly version of its Echo Dot smart speaker powered by voice assistant Alexa. The Echo Dot Kids Edition plays music and answers questions, but the answers are tailored to a child audience. For example, if a kid asks if Santa Claus is real, Alexa dodges the question for some reason, saying she hasn't met him and is curious about Rudolph's nose, which we all know is red. The new device is likely to prompt concerns about privacy. However, an Amazon spokeswoman emphasized that it only listens for the wake word
Alexa. So we apologize if your Alexa just went off right now. It happens sometimes.
If we keep saying Alexa.
Well, I'm going to keep saying it because we have another Alexa story. Politeness is going to count when it comes to talking to Alexa. Amazon says after an update next month, Alexa will thank kids who ask questions nicely. The update is called Free Time for Alexa. It will also include parental controls that will block kids from making voice purchases and filter explicit lyrics from songs.
Smart.
Good things on the lyrics. And also, you know, you hear all these stories about somebody randomly gets $17,000 worth of, what are those games you can play, like Candy Crush? Like you can buy
yes.
all kinds of crazy stuff. So
yeah,
that's probably good news for parents.
It's fantastic news. Anything that's a blocking tool for, you know, evil or purchases is brilliant on all levels.
Yeah. Well, with the majority of school districts closed for the rest of the week, some parents are scrambling to find childcare. Now, many groups and businesses in the Tucson area are stepping up to fill the gap. We'll tell you some of the places you can send your child for free. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side.
And teachers across Tucson heading up north to Phoenix, demanding change in their classrooms. What they're asking for up next. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side.
Good Morning Tucson starts right now.
Now on GMT, the statewide educator strike is set to begin this morning. Why they say the state needs to raise teacher pay and increase school funding. This morning, we have team coverage as Governor Doug Ducey continues to push his plan to raise teacher pay. We have Jennifer Martinez and Kevin Bowden, who will both be joining us live. We'll have more on how state legislators are responding to the plan as teachers prepare to head up to Phoenix for a rally. Good morning to you, Tucson. A happy Thursday to you. I'm Whitney Clark. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll get right to our big story this morning. Tucson teachers will be heading up to Phoenix to take part in the teacher rally with one goal in mind: change in the education system. 9 on your side's Jennifer Martinez joins us live from a congregation on 5th and Craycroft with more about what's going on this morning. Jennifer, this isn't the only place they'll be leaving from.
Good morning, Whitney. No, it's not the only place that they're going to be leaving from. They're going to be leaving from different spots actually in Tucson, and there's going to be at least 1,000 Tucson teachers heading to Phoenix to demand change in their classrooms. Now, educators have a list of demands that they're asking for, beginning with a 20% raise for all teaching and certified staff, competitive wages, yearly raises until the national average is met. Jason Freed, president of the Tucson Educators Association, says Arizona kids have been shortchanged by $1 billion, and Arizonans are tired of it.
Average computer is 12 years old in TUSD, and so that means that a high school senior right now, that computer was purchased when he was in kindergarten. Those kinds of things are truly unfair for our kids, and we can't wait to see maybe next time, maybe next time. This governor says he's the education governor. If he wants to be the education governor, he's going to have to step forward and find the funding.
And this morning, as I mentioned, more than 1,000 Tucson teachers will be heading to the state capitol. The bus will be leaving here on 5th and Craycroft at 8:30 this morning. And Whitney, it looks a little empty right now, this parking lot, but we can expect it to be jam-packed by 8:30 when that bus leaves. Whitney, back to you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Well, also on the way to Phoenix this morning is 9 on your side's Kevin Bowden. We're joining him live in the car right now. Now, Kevin, before we get to the real issues, you said that there was some traffic delays that might be impacting people if they are heading up there this morning. What's it looking like now?
Yeah, we're through that. It took us about 20-25 minutes to get through that. It's on I-10 heading up to Phoenix, right about the Sackatone rest area. So if you're planning to come up to Phoenix from Tucson or Casa Grande or any point south, plan a little extra time in your travel day to account for that. But it was in the clearing stages when we went through, so hopefully by the time folks at home get to it, it's not that bad. Right now we're in Phoenix and I-10 and Ray Road. Clear sailing right now. So Whitney, what these teachers are going to experience and see when they get to the Capitol is going to be something like we've never seen before in Arizona. They're going to gather and rally outside Chase Field and then march to the state Capitol. It's about 2 miles through downtown Phoenix. It's the opposite path that protesters took when they marched during the SB 1070 rallies in 2010. So they're kind of retracing, backtracking through history. We expect this rally to be significantly larger than the SB 1070's rally, Whitney. There will be speakers and podiums speeches that start at about 1:30 this afternoon, and that will last until about 4:30 through the hottest part of the day. So if you're coming, bring water, sunscreen, a hat. It's Arizona in late April. I think we all know the drill about how to stay safe, Whitney.
Yeah, it's supposed to be about 100 degrees up there today, Kevin. So we've heard sort of the demands from teachers, educators, what they want. What exactly is the governor's office saying this morning? What are we hearing from state legislators?
So about 2 weeks ago, the governor rolled out his 20% raise by 2020 plan, and they're sticking to it. They say that's the plan they're going to bring to the legislature. That's the plan they're going to push through the legislature as we go through the state budgeting process. So it seems like both sides have dug in the state Senate President, Steve Yarbrough, who's from Chandler, said that he and other Senate Republicans are ready to pass this plan. Senator Shope, who is the TJ Shope, who's a legislator from the Pinal County area, said he is ready to pass this plan. So we're going to see what happens. Democrats say they are taking the side of the teachers and their demands. But Whitney, I think as we know, this is Arizona and Arizona politics. And so really anything can happen as we get up to the final days of the legislative session.
Okay, thank you so much, Kevin. Busy day ahead. We'll be checking in with you much more, and we will also be posting updates throughout the day on our website. You can also find us on our social media pages, like on Facebook. We'll have live coverage at the Capitol today. Well, churches and organizations in our area are stepping up to help out parents this morning, where you can keep your kids safe for free during the walkout. Plus, we're on verdict watch on the Cosby trial this morning, the clarification the jury got from the judge last night. It is 6:35. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side. Welcome back. Now the time is 6:38. If you are a parent and you don't know where to bring your kid today during the teacher walkout, there are some free options for you. Now, Victory Worship Center near Flowing Wells is taking in 1,100 kindergarten through 6th graders for a free day camp. Southside Presbyterian Church and the John Valenzuela Youth Center are offering a free day of camp for K through 5th graders, and they are each taking in about 50 students. Now, the Pima County libraries have some activities for students as well. The City of Tucson's KidCo program will be offered all day at certain recreation centers for $5. Now, for a detailed list or how to register for one of these options, you can head to kgun9.com. Well, it was the first home playoff game for the Roadrunners last night, and they did not disappoint. Post-game coverage from the Tucson Arena coming up. April?
And we have a very bright moon this morning. We'll tell you when it's going to be officially full coming up in just a few minutes. Whitney?
But first, there are new concerns this morning over the ability for popular smart speakers to spy on you. ABC's Candace Gibson has the details in today's GMA First Look. Checking in around the world this morning now at 6:44. Today, history will be made on the Korean Peninsula. The leaders of the North and South Korea will meet after the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un walks across the border. The two leaders will plan to treat together, and Kim will inspect an honor guard. The talks are expected to focus largely on North Korea's nuclear program and maybe about finally and formally ending the Korean War. Authorities believe they have arrested the so-called Golden State Killer. Sacramento's district attorney announced Joseph James D'Angelo is the suspected serial killer. They believe he committed 12 killings and at least 50 rapes across California from 1976 to 1986.
We found the needle in the haystack, and it was right here in Sacramento.
According to Ventura County's district attorney, he was arrested after police matched discarded DNA evidence from his Sacramento area home with genetic evidence from the crimes. He was fired from the Auburn Police Department in California in 1979 after being charged with shoplifting. The 72-year-old is being held without bail in Sacramento County Jail on 2 murder charges. A new memorial for peace and justice opens today in Alabama. The 6-acre site overlooking Montgomery, and the art installed there is a tribute to the victims of racial terrorism. This installation you see here includes 800 suspended steel rectangles, one for each U.S. county where a lynching occurred. The founder hopes people will, quote, see the pain, but we also want them to see the humanity and the capacity to endure. Well, the jury in the Bill Cosby sexual assault retrial will begin deliberating for a second day. The panel of 7 men and 5 women worked towards a verdict for 10 hours yesterday. The jury asked the judge to read back prior testimony. That's when the entertainer's lead lawyer nodded off. Cosby is facing 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault. Well, take a look at this, caught on camera. A scary what would you do moment. You can see a robber pointing a gun around the store. The guy in the cowboy hat, the cashier, tackles him. Then other people in the store all get in on this. Now, this was at a butcher shop in Monterrey, Mexico. The robber, as you saw, dropped the gun, and the store employees all helped to wrestle him. Well, check this out. A North Carolina kayaker was rescued after he got stuck on a river. The man was stuck against logs and other debris near Charlotte. Firefighters ended up using a ladder to get rope to the partially submerged man to keep him from going under. Then they used a boat to get him to safety. The kayaker was loaded into an ambulance and taken to the hospital with minor injuries.
Now, K-Gun 9 on your side first warning weather with meteorologist April Madison.
Good morning. Just about a quarter till 7, actually 6:47, a little beyond a quarter till 7. We're getting up there. It's going fast. We do have a little bit of a blanket of clouds, kind of these high wispy clouds, if you will, not packing a lot of moisture, but they are definitely keeping temps just a little bit warmer this morning. I think yesterday we managed to dip just briefly to the upper 50s, but the clouds have kept us a little warmer than that this morning. We did get down to the low 60s, but that's where we are right now. We'll likely go up from there. We do have some 40s and 50s though across Cochise County. Not going to stay cool though, so enjoy it while it lasts. This is going to be still another very hot day, even with that mix of sun and clouds. 94 the high today, almost 10 degrees above that average of 85. There's where the clouds are coming from, really from the south. High pressure is starting to kind of set up in that area that we typically see when we start moving into our monsoon pattern, that subtropical high that starts to move south. This right now, not that subtropical high, but the direction of it is where we start to see that happening as we move into May and June. So that's the reason why we're not pulling a whole lot of moisture out of it yet. That could change though a little bit later on Friday, but most likely any sort of moisture we see is going to stay east of us and over the higher elevations. What we might also see is this sort of blanket of wind that's going to move in, but mainly during the morning hours. This will be more of a morning event and less of an afternoon event. We'll see some breezy winds is what we'll call it when it comes to sustained winds. Not too bad. The wind gusts will be the bigger weather issue with the wind on Friday morning. It'll be gusting possibly as high as 35 miles per hour, and then it'll move out. We'll see more of a down day on Saturday with the wind, which will be nice. It'll still be very warm into the weekend, but we will see that wind returning next week. As far as our skies, looking pretty nice if you want to get out and enjoy the next full moon. It happens on Sunday just before 6 p.m. It's also known as the pink moon, which represents our first spring flowers. Usually they are pink. They kind of blanket the ground with that pink, and that's why it's called the pink full moon. And again, nice viewing weather to see that. We're not expecting a lot of rain this far south. The skies might be a little blanketed with clouds, but rain chances really expected to stay mainly east and over the mountain zones Friday into Saturday. Eventually, though, another round of wind will bring on the cool down. We'll not only get the 80s back, but possibly even seeing the 70s by Wednesday of next week. Big Al?
April 6:49. Let's get right to it. Westbound Interstate 10 is restricted right north of McCartney Road in Casa Grande up toward the Sackatone rest stop. Look at the slowing that we have here because of a multi-vehicle wreck a little earlier this morning. It was 20 minutes. Actually, it was 30 minutes, then 20 as Kevin Boughton went through it. Now it's between 10 and 15. Here's a look at what we saw as they passed the wreck earlier this morning off to the left side of the roadway, but still very slow-moving travel there on the westbound freeway. If you're going to Phoenix, Red for Ed, Sky Harbor, whatever, you're going to have to leave a little earlier because if you're leaving now, you'll probably have an extra few minutes of delay time. Let's back to the map. I want to just show you one quick thing here. I wish we had the rest stop open, but it won't open until the 4th of July. You'll just pass by that rest stop. It's all closed. That's the latest from our First Warning Traffic Center.
Thank you, Big Al. Well, we knew it would be a whiteout, but we also got a shutout. The Roadrunners won their first ever home playoff game last night versus San Jose, and it was Game 3 of their AHL playoff series. Now, in the first period, the Roadrunners jumped out to a 1-0 lead as Dylan Strome assisted on this Michael Bunting goal. Take a look at that. Now, the Roadrunners added 5 more unanswered goals to win 6-0, their largest margin of victory all season. Tucson now has a 2-1 series lead. They can win the series on Friday.
Our compete level was there throughout the full 60 minutes, and that's what you want to see. And when you get off the start that we got off to, obviously it enables you to play with a little bit more confidence. It's a lot easier when you're playing with the puck the whole time. Everyone gets confidence. Everyone was feeling it and feeling good, and the bench is positive, and it's just we kind of kept rolling from there.
Big congratulations to them. Well, we'll have more after the break. It's 6:51. You're watching K-Gun 9 on your side. Well, hundreds of thousands of kids will not be in school today in Arizona as teachers begin their scheduled walkout for more school funding. Arizona educators begin their strike today, and up to 50,000 people are expected to march at the state capitol. This comes despite Governor Doug Ducey's plan for a 20% teacher pay raise by 2020. Now, this morning, Governor Ducey is not giving up hope on a resolution. A spokesperson for the governor says he's been meeting with individual lawmakers and trying to strike a deal. As for the teachers, they say they won't go back to class until they get what they want. Now, pretty soon, Tucson teachers will be heading up to Phoenix to gather at the state capitol. 9 on your sides. Jennifer Martinez is joining us live to tell us more. Hey, Jennifer.
Well, good morning, Whitney. More than 100 teachers will be leaving from this area here on 5th and Craycroft. In total, more than 1,000 people in Tucson will be heading up north to Phoenix. Now, this is what they want. They have one goal. That's change inside of their classrooms. Educators have a list of demands beginning with 20% raise for all teaching and certified staff, competitive wages, yearly raises until the national average is met. And as I mentioned, they're going to be leaving here shortly. They're leaving at 8:30, and while it's an empty parking lot right now, it's going to be filled with hundreds of cars. Whitney, back to you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Gonna be a hot one out there, April.
Yeah, for Phoenix, likely maybe even the hottest day they've seen so far with triple digits expected. Yeah, they're gonna hit 100. Man, it's gonna be a hot day. Hot here too, but not quite that hot. 65. We also don't have the air quality alert going along with that triple digit heat. So some silver lining here in Tucson. Still very warm though, well above average. 94 today and tomorrow. We'll hold on to the 90s into the weekend, but we will eventually see a much breezier and cooler week ahead. Big Al?
April, let's take a look at my one big thing in addition to the Sackatone area up on the north end of Pinal County. This is my local issue this morning. Valencia Road between the area of Mission out toward the area of Camino de la Tierra. In particular, this stretch for westbound travel getting some repair, and right in the intersection, concrete work at Valencia and Cardinal. Westbound I-10 slowdowns are now between 5 and 10 minutes between Casa Grande and Sackatone from the earlier multi-vehicle wreck. That's the latest from our First Warning Traffic Center.
Thank you much, Big Al. Well, time is running out to vote for the Desert Museum as America's best zoo. This is a USA Today poll of all the zoos across the country. I think there's about 20 of them on the list. At last check, we're in about 4th place, but they've closed the leaderboard on the website because the results are coming soon. You can still vote, though. We've got the link on kgun9.com. Get this, you guys. They recently opened up the Pack Rat Playhouse.
I want to see that.
I hear it's fun.
And the stingrays. I haven't seen the stingrays yet.
So they took my car and put it at the Desert Museum?
Yes, and they filled it with
Pack Rat Playhouse. Yes. Well, they didn't need to fill it. The Pack Rat's migrated.
It already looks like that.
Well, I mean, if it's not running anymore, might as well make a playhouse.
Oh, it runs. It ran just fine until the wiring got chewed.
Hasn't that not happened to all of us at least once?
Pack Rat Playhouse.
I think that's happened to everyone at least once, right?
What?
Not you yet?
What's happened?
Pack rats chewing up the wires.
That happened to me one time in Oregon, not in Arizona, from what I can recall.
Well, you're lucky.
It's happened twice to me and tore
in your house or your car?
In my car and my back porch patio furniture.
Oh yeah.
She
doesn't like those little rats. Leave them out at the Desert Museum. Go look at them out there. See you tomorrow.
Good morning, everyone.